Boom shakalaka, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters around the world. It is your boy Chris Shule, aka the Esoteric Noetic, aka the Chocolate Nubian Soul Brother from Ghana, West Africa, aka the Aquarian Millennial, dropping the wisdomatic truth bombs here in Melbourne, Australia. You know, mate. You know I'm True Blue. You know I'm on team. Meh. Always do as I'm told. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, click on the bell, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your momos, drop us the comments and let us know what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a podcast dropping in the next 24 hours. You can check it out. Get early access, though, if you follow us on Patreon. I did an amazing podcast with I called it Theology. We spoke about spirituality, science, the nature of the universe. But we also went into trauma and just dealing with social media and a lot of the tribulations we face in life. But in any event, what I want to talk about on this video is a little something called cancel culture. You know, a few years ago, that wasn't a thing. But if there is one thing we've seen over the last 5 or so years, it has been this situation where censorship has become the default. We see censorship happening within corporations. It trickles down to censorship implemented by governments. And now we have this censorship that is taking place on the individual level. We got people all around the world that are censoring themselves, don't want to say what they really feel because, God forbid, someone might get annoyed at them. Someone might say, I don't like what you're saying. I'm offended. And no one wants to be offended, right? And no one wants to be accused of being an offensive person. So we end up censoring ourselves. And I got to tell you, when I heard the headline that the most influential pop star, Beyoncé Knowles, I'm a big fan, bootylicious, oh, that girl is something, and she is a trendsetter. And it's a big deal because when Beyoncé does something, when these trendsetters, these movers, these influencers support something or don't support something, it often paves the way for what is going on. And we've seen a lot of this kind of stuff going on. Anyway, in short, Beyoncé confirmed that she will be removing an ablest slur from a song on her new album, Renaissance. So Beyoncé Knowles had a lyric within her song. I'm just having a look at this article here, where she used the word spaz, right? So the disabled community called out the pop star's song Heated. This is from a new album on Renaissance, which includes the lyrics, spazzing on that ass, spaz on that ass. That sounds pretty cool, spazzing on that ass. I like the way that sounds. It kind of sounds hot, right? I mean, I think that would mean you're going crazy on that ass, right? Right? That's probably the pop culture euphemism in the States. But lo and behold, in a different geographical region, so not even in the community, right? The song was predominantly released. But in another country, the UK, they look at the word spazzing to be an insult. They think it's some kind of ableist term. So what does Beyoncé decide to do? Well, because it's offended someone, she's decided to remove that from her song, that lyric from her song. And, you know, a lot of people think that's an understandable thing to do. You know, you're being sensitive. Don't be insensitive, Crystal. You're so insensitive, Crystal. However, if you look at this from a greater perspective, and you're not being myopic here, you realize that you're just kicking yourself. I mean, anything that you say can be offensive. Offense is never given, it's taken. I mean, if I was to say something like, oh, here's a classic example. When people call me brother, sometimes I get offended because I'm like, I'm not your brother. You know, granted, they didn't mean that to be offensive. I particularly hate it when girls call me brother, because it's typically them saying that they're not interested in me sexually, right? And I get offended by that. I'm like, what? Don't call me bro. But the idea of me saying that, oh, that's offensive, you know, when, in all honesty, sometimes they're just saying that because it's just the word that some girls call guys bro. It doesn't mean that they're not into you, right? In fact, actually, I think, generally speaking, it's because they're not into you. They're trying to, like, put you into this friend zone category. But the idea of someone saying that that's offensive and you shouldn't be able to use that phrase, you shouldn't be able to call me bro, right, is ridiculous. And thus applies with pretty much everything else. People have this idea that you shouldn't say something because it might offend someone, when in reality, it says a lot more about an individual, the fact that they're offended by a word than anything else that's going on. Back to my scenario there, I get offended when girls call me bro because I might be insecure about the fact that this girl is not that into me. And on a greater context, people get offended because there is an issue that they're dealing with. You know, when someone is offended by something, it says that they are dealing with some kind of internal issue, that they're fighting some kind of battle. And more often than not, I mean, in pretty much all cases, I mean, unless someone is intending to offend you, that's different. If you were offended by someone, the issue lies solely with you, because it says that you are not ready to deal with reality, the reality of how someone may feel about you, or just the fact that someone is using a word that has a different meaning. It's a really sad thing that people won't address the issue that's not even necessarily the intent here, because more often than not, people know that these artists are not saying these things to be nasty, right? But somehow, because people are triggered by the word, like the word spaz. I mean, most people in the UK realize that in the context of spazzing on that ass, it's not about being an ableist. It's not about Beyoncé wanting to be little retards. Oops, apparently I can't say that word, right? Can't even use that word. When the actual word means someone that is slow, that has a lack of mental acuity and so forth. But even that word retard is considered to be ableist, right? Not because the context, the intent was supposed to be offensive, but because it triggers someone. So it makes someone look at themselves and think, oh, wait a sec, I feel like I am a less of a person when I hear that word. So, you know what, rather than trying to address the issue within myself, I'm going to try to restrict people from being able to use that word. It is a sad state, because this is something that seems to be a theme. I mean, Beyoncé has recently done this, but not that long ago, a UK artist, actually no, an artist that released her music in the UK, dealt with the same issue. So that was Lizzo. Just having a look at this article here. So back in June, the artist Lizzo actually released her song, and she used similar lyrics, spaz. And the UK community erupted and said that it was ableist for her to use a phrase like that. That's offensive. And the frustrating thing is, if you go down this route, everything is potentially offensive. Anything and everything is. And look, a lot of people make the argument that, you know, Beyoncé obviously is just being a good person. She cares about her fans and so forth. But she is at a point in her career, right, where she is unbelievably successful. Beyoncé is arguably the most successful female artist ever, all right? And she certainly doesn't need the money. I mean, her and Jay-Z are worth billions of dollars, right? Therefore, the last thing you should be doing is trying to trying to placate yourself and submit yourself to what people want. You should be expressing yourself as an artist. That means expressing concepts and ideas that are expressive, express what you're feeling within, rather than trying to meet the wants of the status quo. You see, the main thing in my mind that separates an artist from a revolutionary figure, a legend, is someone that has reached this point where they don't need to compromise themselves. They actually start expressing themselves for what they believe. You know, Beyoncé obviously knew what she meant when she was using the phrase spazzing. She had no ill intent with that word. And that should have been enough for her. She should have known, well, I had no negative intention, so I don't have a problem using a word like that. But instead, she's compromised herself. She's acted like a hack and decided to express herself, or go back on what was her authentic expression, in order to placate the masses, make them happy. And that, it's a sad thing, you know. It's like, look, I love Beyoncé and I get what she's doing, you know, and a lot of people in a situation where they're trying to make a name for themselves, they have to make compromises. But the last person you want to be seeing doing something like that is Beyoncé, because she's already made it. What she should be doing is setting trends now. Having the balls, and yeah, women can have balls too, to actually beat to the rhythm of her own heart. Yeah, in terms of the minority, yeah, you know what? You're right there, Vohan. It's only a small minority of people that the ableist community, right, in regards to this specific situation, that are offended by that term. Most people have the sensibility to understand that, oh no, she's just talking about going crazy on that ass, right? And that's the funny thing. This is a completely different geographic area, right? In the United States, most people, the masses, have the understanding that spazzing is not a negative ableist term, right? It's only within the UK that this tends to take on that notion, and more specifically within a minority group of people within the UK, the ableist community. If you play this game, everything is potentially offensive. I mean, let me give you an example. Like a while back, I was on a train, and someone yelled, "Yo, what's up, Blackie?" And I overheard them, and I was like, "Well, this guy called me black." I didn't actually react to it though, because I just don't get offended by shit like that. But he said it again, "Yo, Blackie, what's up, man?" And some other person in the crowd was like, "Whoa, hey, bro, what do like what the hell's going on?" They were like trying to defend me. It's like, you can't look, mate. You can't be calling him a Blackie. That's racist, mate. I didn't really care though. But then the guy actually looked at me and he's, "Oh, bro, no, my friend. He's actually calling Blackie. That's his name. He's not black." It's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man." And the funny thing is, right, this other guy was offended on my behalf at the fact that someone had called me Blackie, right? Not realizing that his intent. I mean, forget his intent. He had, I mean, one, obviously there was no intent to be harmful, but it wasn't even about me. And this is the thing. People always project their understanding of what a particular word means. And the thing is, everyone has a different interpretation of words. Even if we're not looking at something contextually, a word may have a different meaning to you than it has to someone else. So the fact that you're saying, because I am triggered by my interpretation of this word, I am now going to restrict people from using this word because of the way it makes me feel, that's just narrow-sighted. And this is the world that we are living in. I mean, people have started censoring themselves now, right? I mean, we started seeing this stuff with the corporations, right? With all the censorship. And of course, they influence these governments. And then we have the worst kind of coercion, right? Coercion through law, by force, right? Which is a horrible thing, which we've been seeing a lot of lately. But then what happens from then on is that people adopt this way of thinking, from the governments because it's been instituted, and we often are a product of what we see, we hear, and because it's been mandated, now people think it's appropriate to censor themselves on a social level. And now you don't even need to have any laws restricting people from doing this kind of stuff, from saying words like this. Bearing in mind, they are actually implementing this kind of stuff, like in Canada with gender pronouns, trying to mandate the use of this kind of stuff, like trying to punish people, make it a punishable offense if you don't address people by the correct gender pronouns, that kind of stuff. But we don't even need to move into government coercion. People are doing this to themselves now because pop stars like Beyoncé, like Lizzo, have placated to the whimsical notions of a small minority group of people. And now everyone else, and I say generally speaking, have a look at this kind of stuff and say, well, this is the norm now, and we need to do this kind of stuff. And the frustrating thing for me, someone that is a singer, a musician, a recording artist, is that the realm of art, look, regardless of whether or not you're a musician, you are a YouTube creator, or you do anything where you express yourself in the realm of art. Art is supposed to be the last bastion for expression. And if we can't even express ourselves in regards to what we think in the realm of art, then we are really moving into an Orwellian territory. I had this conversation with my cousin just a while ago where she was saying that it was wrong for people to project negative portrayals of black women or black men in their movies, right? Because of how it impacts the black people community, minority group. And I'm saying, well, I get the fact that you don't like this, but are you telling me that people can't make movies and try to depict something that is artistic because it's offending you? I mean, the whole idea of art, right, is, it's not necessarily supposed to represent something that you believe, but it's supposed to illustrate an idea. And and here's the other thing, right? She was saying that you should not have actors, right? So this in the realm of movie, cinematography, this entire area, you should not have people portraying black people if they are not black, right? So an actor should not be able to act like a black person if they're white, right? And for someone like me that is an actor that loves this whole idea of impersonation, it seems absolutely ridiculous. The whole point of acting is to be able to pretend and express something that you aren't necessarily so, right? I mean, the idea of me saying that I shouldn't be able to impersonate a white guy, Sean Connery, well, yes, it would be wrong for me to impersonate Sean Connery because obviously I'm not Scottish, you shithead. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's an act. Obviously, I don't believe I'm a white person. Obviously, I'm not trying to be negative by impersonating someone, but she was making the argument that it's inauthentic and it shows that you're trying to portray black people in this like mocking kind of way. When no, that's someone's subjective interpretation in regards to what an actor is trying to do. When an actor is simply impersonating that person because it's fun. I mean, you may impersonate someone for many different reasons, but the whole idea of an actor is that you're not being real, right? You're often acting as the whole concept of acting is about. But we've moved into this realm now where we're censoring what people can say, how people can even express themselves, because, and it all ties back to this, because someone might be offended. And if you even want to go deeper than that, it's because it might create some kind of negative effect in this Euclidean meat space, whether it's affecting a minority group like the ablest people, whether it's offending a minority group like black people, Black Lives Matter, so, you can't disrespect black people, or whether someone might, God forbid, be injured mentally. Like, when reality is offensive and you want to restrict reality by censoring what people can say, we're moving into a very dark territory. This is why we are in a world now where people don't even feel comfortable expressing the idea that there are two sexes, right? Because it's offensive. I mean, what next? Don't speak about what's going on in the realm of health, science, reality, because someone might be offended. I mean, I got into this situation a while ago. A very close friend of mine, actually a celebrity. I did a reality TV show with her, The Voice. I won't mention any names, but we got into an argument where she was offended by my worldview. And the thing is, I was trying to empower this girl. I was saying that I believe that you have the ability to overcome your circumstances. I believe in free will. This is the fundamental basis of human rights. Therefore, regardless of whatever situation you're in, your trauma, you can still take steps in order to overcome that. Like you are an amazing, powerful woman. I don't care what you've been through in your life, you can overcome these problems. And she was saying that it was offensive for me to have that worldview, that her situation was such that there's nothing that she could do about it. And look, long story short, it's offensive for me to project this worldview of mine, right? That people, regardless of their circumstances, can overcome their choice, overcome their situation because of free will choices. They can always make some effort in order to uplift their state, change their mindset, right? And that's my reality. That's my worldview. That's just a principle. But the very idea of having that viewpoint, because it was offensive, was grounds for her not wanting to to enter this conversation. And well, it basically created a like a rupture in our friendship. And it's the world that we are in now. When you state something that offends someone, you are risking not only your friendship, but you're risking your livelihood, and you're risking your mental sanity. But the overarching issue here is that, granted, initially it may seem difficult to have these conversations, to speak the truth. You feel like you're compromising your sanity. The truth, regardless of how painful it is initially, in terms of the reality of the world, particularly when we're dealing with human rights, truth, justice, it is far better to speak these things than to live this life of quiet desperation where you do not express the truth in regards to what you believe because you are worried that someone might cancel you, cancel culture, right? And this is the reality that we are in. You lose a bit of yourself each and every single day when you don't speak about things that matter. You truly don't care about the issues that you're professing to care about if you're not willing to stand up and speak them openly, boldly, and forgo this threat of being canceled. You know, particularly when you're in the position of a superstar like Beyoncé, you know, when you have already made your millions, you're already influential. Obviously, there's always this looming fear of losing it, but there is so much more to be gained by being someone that actually stands against the, and it's not even the general consensus. It's like you're playing this game, these people playing this game right now where they're trying to be loved by everyone, right? Not realizing that by simply even doing that, you're automatically going to fail. You know, the only way to truly lose in this game, whether it's the entertainment industry or whether it's the game of life for that matter, is to try to please everyone. In this world that we're in, if you take a passionate stance on any big issue, there's a good chance you're at least going to aggravate 50% of the population, right? It's just the nature of reality, right? And you know that you're not succeeding in life, I think, if everyone thinks you're awesome, because the way that reality is constructed, unfortunately, there are going to be some people that just don't like you. The question remains, do you want to try to live a life where you try to please everyone, or do you want to walk your own path? Plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth and say nay to this cancel culture. Ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, brothers and sisters around the world, let me know what you think about cancel culture. Let me know what you think about Beyoncé making this decision to change her lyric because it offended the ableist community, and Lizzo doing the same thing. And yeah, drop us the comments below. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes. Check out my music. I'm on iTunes and Spotify for my music as well as my podcast. And remember that there are three things that cannot remain hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the wisdomatic truth. I'm going to do it in my Sean Connery voice. The wisdomatic truth bombs of the chocolate Nubian show, brother, you shithead. I suppose that would have been somewhat offensive, right? Because I'm impersonating a white guy. Oh no, I'm not allowed to do that. Kisses, hugs, and belly rubs, everyone. Peace out. Your boy, Chris Shule.